So the thing I want to talk about was CNN. So CNN have done another oopsie. They've been caught out
Wonderful.
lying. I just wanted to say we're going to play a lot of clips from Project Veritas, and God save Project Veritas.
Oh, yes.
Doing the Lord's work out there of actually getting people to say what they won't say publicly on tape. And I just wanted to preamble this with a bit of backlog. So Project Veritas have been going after CNN for a long time, and their reason for going after CNN is CNN purports to be neutral. They are the trusted name in news that is just there to tell you
the BBC of America.
the news and nothing else. It's like, that's just an obvious bull.
Yeah.
So they've been going undercover and getting the footage. And a while back, this was the funniest one for me, and I think the one that's most remembered is the Nothing Burger incident, in which I can't remember the guy. I can't remember his name. Van Jones. So he was reporting on TV when he's on CNN being like, Trump, Russia, all this stuff, there's so many connections, blah, 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 and the rest of the network was doing it as well. And then he was outside, I think he was smoking or drinking, and one of the Project Veritas guys come up with a hidden camera, asked him about Trump, Russia, and he responds, it's a nothing burger.
I love that
Nothing
Americans
burger.
actually rate things in the number of burgers.
I know, it's great.
It's amazing.
This one's a 0 burger.
yeah, no burgers, I'm afraid. Damn. I wanted a burger.
But it was a great moment because it was just like, right, okay, so we know you guys are just propaganding on Trump, Russia, which we know definitely to be true because all the investigations have been done and it's bunk.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was the response from Van Jones, in which he tried to claim that the whole thing was a hoax. So we get the next one. This is him responding, and he called the video a hoax. So in response, Project Veritas just released the full clip unedited, and it obviously wasn't a hoax.
Oof.
He walked up, talked to you, asked you about Trump, Russia. You said it's a nothing burger, and then you went off. It was like, well, okay, so you're just propagandists. And there's been a few of these. They've got insider phone calls sometimes and whatnot. This is just the funniest one, I think. And there's been a new one. So I think it was yesterday this came out, in which they have been tailing some senior people within CNN, and they've got some gold. So if we can get the first link up just so we can show. So this is the source video. Go watch the whole thing in your own time. We've cut down some of these clips just for the sake of time of this show. But this is a CNN director admitting that they are just open propaganda. So the first clip here is them saying that they are literally just an anti-Trump propaganda outlet. Let's play.
Look what we did. We got Trump out. I am 100% going to say it. And I 100% believe it, that if it wasn't for CNN, I don't know that Trump would have got voted out. I really don't think so.
Oh, really? I think if COVID hadn't happened, it wouldn't have mattered what we covered, and Trump would still be in office.
I believe.
No, I don't think
I came to CNN because I wanted to be a part of that.
Yeah, I mean, like Trump, we did it. Like when Trump was, I don't know, like his hand was shaking or whatever like that. We brought in like so many medical people to like all tell a story that like it was all speculation. That he was like neurological damage, like that he was losing it. He's unfit to, whatever. We were creating a story there that we didn't know anything about. So that's I think that's propaganda. We had nothing else to run with at that time. We were like just taking shots off the bow, just hoping something would hit.
That's amazing. That's an amazing series of admissions from CNN's technical director.
I mean, we take credit for taking down Donald Trump. That's why I came to CNN. Oh, yeah, also this story, which we just literally made up out of thin air about Donald Trump's health. We had nothing. So, yeah, it is propaganda. We just made it up because why not?
That's a staggering series of admissions.
Technical director saying that. So it's not just,
If it was some, like, intern saying this, you'd be like, yeah, you don't know anything. You're a nobody. But... man, that is wild. Good job, Project Veritas.
Like this guy reports directly to the president of CNN Global or whatever.
Yeah, Jeff Zucker.
Yeah, so it's coming from the horse's mouth. I mean, they've got them previously. People who work on the floor admitting this kind of stuff, but never this high. And I mean, just literally, yeah, we are a propaganda outlet who is just anti-Trump, and they're not just anti-Trump as in anti one thing. They're obviously pro-Biden, pro-Democrat.
They're pro-Democrat. That's the thing. Yeah.
So this next clip is him just boasting about it. Let's play.
He's definitely the whole thing of him running during the entire run for the campaign, showing him jogging was obviously a deflection of his age, and they're trying to make him I'm healthy.
Is that what we did? I don't know. Like, what do you mean?
We would always show shots of him jogging, and that I'm healthy, blah blah blah, and him in aviator shades, and you paint him as a young geriatric. I think we got him through this term.
And then so there are complaints that we're not covering that Biden tripped up the stairs. Oh, did you? We talked about it briefly, but
you talk about that briefly. You don't make that a huge story.
Okay, so but the fact that we talk about the Trump tripping is a bigger nuance. It's a nuanced conversation because that's a sign
Did we harp on Trump tripping? I think we talked about it a little bit. As long as we talk about it a little bit with Biden, then I think we're
But like, we didn't cover it at all on Dawn. Like, we didn't talk about it. Whereas if it had been Trump tripping up the stairs.
So they're openly saying we run footage of Biden jogging with his aviators on to make him look young. You know, in the way a campaigner would do.
Yeah.
The staff at a campaign headquarters would
Yeah.
make that kind of stuff. He's saying, yeah, CNN does that. Okay. And then they speak about that Biden tripped up on the stairs. This is something that happened a while ago. And they're making the comparison between when Trump slipped on the stairs once. And they were like, oh, we endlessly talked about that. And they did. It was really cringe. I didn't really find it too big of a deal because he didn't even like fall over like Biden did or anything.
No.
And that's that. And then the fact that they just sort of brush under the carpet when it happens to their guy. So I mean, yeah, we are just open Democrat partisans. It's like, good. I
Yeah.
mean, we always knew, but it's good to get an admission. You know, it's always good to get an admission from the horse's mouth. The last thing here that they put in here was that he said that he'd been talking to the higher ups and people don't really like talking about COVID anymore because I mean, no S. It's
boring.
gone on for so long.
Yeah.
So instead, the CNN is just going to pump out climate and sort of stuff, you know, about global warming. And then this also comes in with the idea of maybe climate lockdowns, which is coming back up. People trying to propose this. Absolute nonsense, but let's play it.
I think there's just like a COVID fatigue. So like whenever a new story comes up, they're going to latch onto it. They've already announced inner office that once the public will be open to it, we're going to start focusing mainly on climate. Climate, like global warming, and like that's going to be our next like I don't know, like what's the word I'm looking for?
Agenda.
It's going to be our focus. Like our focus was to get Trump out of office, right? Without it saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness.
What does that look like?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I have a feeling it's just going to be like constantly showing videos of like decline in ice and weather warming up and like the effects it's having on the economy and really
Who
talking about
decides that?
the head of the network, like just
Who's that? Is that Zucker?
Zucker. Yeah, I imagine that he's got his council and they've all like discussed like where they think
So that's like the next.
pandemic like story like that will be to death, but that one's got longevity, you know what I mean? It's not like there's a definitive ending to the pandemic, or you know, like it'll taper off to a point that it's, you know, not a problem anymore. Probably think it's going to take years, so they'll probably be able to milk that for quite a bit, you know. So
I mean, look at the language. They'll be able to milk that.
But
Like-
what's the end goal? We want to propagandize people into being afraid of COVID. Okay, they're sick of that. What about next? Climate change. What,
Yep.
For
And
what?
that's why I mentioned the idea of climate lockdowns, because I've seen this popping up more and more
Yeah, I
within
have.
left-wing circles, that we need climate lockdowns to save the planet. I was like,
Yeah.
you people
No.
are nuts. You cannot be trusted with literally anything.
Yep.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. The news is planned at CNN. I mean, this news outlet that runs 24-hour news is like, nope, it's not news. It's got nothing to do with such a thing.
I mean, it's
and I'd be fine if they just came out and said, yep, we are a socialist Democrat outlet. We love to pump that kind of stuff. And that's our shtick. If you want to watch, good. If you don't, that's fine.
Yeah.
If they did that, that'd
like
be fine.
MSNBC.
But they don't. They are just, we're the most trusted name in news. We're here to tell you the news. And it's like, nah, shut up. You have no idea.
But I love the way it's coming directly from Jeff Zucker. The guy's like, yeah, well, it's his ethical agenda that's being imposed on wider American society as far as they're concerned. That's what they're attempting to do. Propagandize, by their own words, people into believing a certain thing rather than telling them what's happening.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's awful.
But there's also something else in here which is interesting. So they uploaded another clip, and we're going to show you this clip, which is just him explaining why and how the media gets rid of actual conservatives. So if you ever wonder why our Conservative Party in the UK is so bunk and why the rhinos in the United States are so irritating, he explains that in the media we just go after everyone who could be useful to the Conservative Party in either country, and we try and get them deplatformed from the party. Let's play.
News propaganda?
I don't know.
Okay, can you define propaganda? Like, I think I know, but like, how is it? What's the mechanism?
If the agenda, say, is to like get like Matt Gaetz right now, he's like this Republican, like he's a problem for the Democratic Party because he's so conservative, right? And he can cause a lot of hiccups in passing of laws. So it would be great for the Democratic Party to get him out. So we're going to keep running those stories to keep hurting him and make it so that it can't be parried and like just settled outside of court and just like if we keep pushing that, it's helping us. That's propaganda. It's helping us in some way.
On the subtitles, though, it's helping us, bracket CNN. And
I don't agree.
I don't agree. I think he's saying us, the Democrats. I think that's what he's saying there.
They are one and the same.
Yeah.
But it's interesting how he literally defines himself as a propagandist.
Yeah,
Like,
for the Democrats.
Good God. But
Who's targeting Republicans because they are Republican, not because they've done something wrong.
I don't have a clue who Matt Gaetz is. I'm just going to say that he's probably great. Because if CNN hate him, and that's how people should look at things in the media. If the media comes after a candidate, that candidate's probably wonderful.
Yeah, he's currently involved in a scandal that I haven't looked into, but it's alleged that he sent text to like a 17-year-old lad or something.
Okay, well, that's bad.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know.
But that's the thing. Do I even know it's true? After CNN are telling me we run propaganda against this guy.
Well, that's the thing. I saw a clip of him on Fox News saying this is not true, that none of this is true. It's like, well, who's to know?
Yeah, I suppose it'll go through the court, and as he says, they're settling out of court or whatever. I assume he'll try and sue CNN if it's false.
Yeah, and CNN will just give him a wedge of cash.
But that's the thing. It's just, if you look at candidates, you know how they came after Boris Johnson, for example, in the UK, or they go after Donald Trump, in which they're like, oh, look how awful this guy is, and they run a million stories. Like, what I'm saying is that's a signal for this guy's actually probably got some convictions, and that's what scares them. I think it is similar with, let's say, AOC or whatever, the full-on socialists.
Oh, yeah. The conservative media does the same.
Yeah, that is good for the socialist movement, and those are the people that the socialists who want that kind of thing should be saying, oh, they're actually our guy, which it's fine. But it's interesting that they're just openly admitting, we just run nonsense on people to get rid of them.
Well, I think one thing that's really important that we pay attention to, though, is the way that the media views themselves as being the kind of influencers and arbiters of the political landscape in society.
They control the window, right?
They control the window, and they are aware of this, they're very conscious of this, and they actively try to change politics and ruin political careers based on their knowledge of the reach and therefore the power that reach gives them. They're very cognizant of all this.
Like, it shouldn't be up to politicians to define politics, nor should it be up to the American people. It should be up to us.
Jeff Zucker, that's who it's up to.
A bunch of elites who have, I'm sure, ridiculous salaries and live very well.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's not how the country should work. That's the worst thing about the country. So the last thing here is just that James O'Keefe approached him, and they decided to ask him about all of this, and he just ran away because, of course, he did, so that's why.
Charlie, is this seat taken? I'm James O'Keefe with Project Veritas. You're on camera. You're recorded. You're a technical director at CNN. You're on camera talking about the importance of getting Trump out of office without saying that's what your intent is.
Not interested in talking to you.
Well, we're investigative reporters doing a story, and I just want to ask you.
I've asked you now.
What
you're
you
close to you, within 6 feet of me. Without your mask on.
What did you mean when you said that? Without saying that's what our intent was. Why would you want to conceal from? Why would you want to conceal from people? Are you going to call the police? Are you going to call the police on me? Go ahead, please do. Go ahead.
You're in my personal space. I don't want you there.
Excuse me?
You're in my personal space.
I can stand 6 feet away from you and ask the same questions. That sounds like a good idea. So let me ask you this question: why would you want to conceal from voters that CNN's intent was to help Biden?
You're not going to get me to talk about anything, so...
Well, you also said that it was, in your words, quote, propaganda. What was that about? You said you nonchalantly admit in your medical analysis of Trump that it was all speculation. And you used, these are your words, not mine.
I'm not talking to you, David.
All right. Well, you've already spoken with us. You've already spoken with us quite a bit. You admit your network is helping certain candidates for political office, and you're admitting that you're wanting to hide it. Why hide it, Charlie? Why hide it? They never have the courage to say publicly what they will say privately. That's courage right there. That's courage.
Oof, bad day for that guy.
I love James O'Keefe.
Yeah, he's doing good.
He's doing great work. I love the point he makes though. It's just, why hide it? Like, if you want to be partisan, it's a free country. You can. Like, there's nothing stopping you.
There are lots of other people who are partisan.
That's fine. That's part of how the world works. But the hiding it, that's deceitful, and you know it's deceitful.
Yeah.
And that's why you won't say publicly what you will say in private. I love some of the chat is pointing out. It's kind of like watching To Catch a Predator when James O'Keefe turns up.
yeah.
CNN, why don't you take a seat? Anyway, so James O'Keefe then went on Fox News. Again, Fox News, an openly partisan outlet. They're not trying to hide it. I mean, in this clip, for example, Sean Hannity literally says, "I'm a conservative, and I say so up front publicly. I'm honest about it. They claim to be unbiased when they are liberal socialist hacks." It's like, that's what I want from CNN. I want CNN to say, look, we're liberal socialists, blah, 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 or whatever, but they won't do that. Whereas on Fox News, I mean, with all the problems Fox News has with being partisan, blah, 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 they are just open about it. They're like, yeah, we're conservative. We're the conservative outlet.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
You know exactly the perspective you're going to get from Fox News.
Because that's more honest. Like, sure, they might be biased, but at least they're honest about their bias.
Yeah,
That's
you can account for their bias if they're at least being open up front about it. But if CNN are going to hide it, then you just have to kind of try and divine it out of the repeated experience you have of their reporting of various subjects.
And it might be fine for, political addicts who love all this kind of stuff and pay attention.
Random people who are just like in a waiting room or at an airport or something like this, and you see CNN on the TV, they don't know.
They have no idea. But we'll get into that in a minute. So what's interesting about this is James O'Keefe also says that he'll be releasing part 2 today. Ooh. So I look forward to that. He also said that apparently, I think he's suing CNN or something for lying about them, which, again, Godspeed to the man, because I think they were trying to claim that one of his clips wasn't real. And again, he keeps getting these claims put against him.
Oh, yeah, that's brilliant. His wall of retractions is something to be genuinely envious of.
For people who don't know, he has like a wall of retractions and a whole song and everything, and there's hundreds and hundreds of them. Where he's just like, people lied and said, my footage wasn't real. I wrote to them and said, retract it or I'll sue you. And they couldn't put up because they knew they were lying. So they wrote the retractions. So that's that. So one of the good news I wanted to end on was that some people, or at least a significant amount of people, are getting the message that this is all bull. So this is just some report I looked up to see what apparently a survey of American people think that certain news outlets are biased or not biased in certain ways. So they say in here, close to half of Americans believe MSNBC, 52%, CNN, 50%, and Huffington Post, 46%, are extremely or very biased. So about half of the country is in agreement that they are extremely or heavily biased, CNN being 50%, right in the dead middle. Yeah. And the most extremes in the report were Fox News at 67% and Breitbart News at 57%, which again is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with being biased if you are open about your bias. You're like, right, this is my bias, here's my information, make up your own opinion, blah, 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 right? But CNN doesn't do that, and that's what's deceitful about this whole thing. But it is nice to see that at least 50% of the American public see them for what they are. It's
extremely or very biased.
Yeah, it's sad that the other 50% don't. The
other 50% might have said moderately.
So the other thing here was the big difference, of course, between the two political clans of the US. So the Republicans, CNN had a rating of -87. So very few people thought they were unbiased. And with the Democrats, they had a rating of +29, though. So it's overwhelmingly the Democrats who think, no, okay, they're not really biased.
That's because they're on our side.
That's
our team, as the guy said.
What was interesting with the Republicans, they also accepted that Fox News was biased and so forth, because they are, and they're open about it. And that's fine. That's how the world should be. That's not deceitful.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't have, neutral and objective news reporting, we can at least have honest reporting.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing made by loads of left-wing commentators as well. Neutral, objective news reporting doesn't exist. It is a fantasy. It cannot be achieved. This is one of the failures of the BBC. It cannot be done. I'm sorry.
Yep.
And there's a whole bunch of reads of this. I won't go into the arguments. But if that's the case, that is the world. What do we do about it? Do we lie to ourselves and pretend that CNN and the BBC have no biases? Or do we just accept that when you're reporting, you should say, these are my biases, blah, blah, blah. I mean, on this show, for example, people know where we stand. We know what groups we dislike, blah, blah, blah. And therefore, they can take into account our views on a topic. And that's the only way to do it. There is no other way.
Yes.
So, but yeah, good work, Project Veritas. God save James O'Keefe.
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 p.m. UK time on lotuseaters.com.